Good evening and welcome to Pacific Forest Trust's virtual Forest Fete 2021. Please welcome to the stage PFT friend and supporter Dan Leibowitz.
Hey everybody, my name is Lebo. So great to be here with you to support the Pacific Forest Trust. I'm really grateful for all the amazing work that they're doing, not only to protect the forests, but to protect life on planet Earth. It seems that so often Mother Nature's voice is muted by the voice of humans. And we got to share this planet. We also know that in the end of the day, Mother Nature is going to get the last word. So I know who I want to support, and I know who y'all want to support, and I know who the Pacific Forest Trust wants to support, and that's why they're doing all the great work they're doing. So big, huge thanks to them for that. And I want to sing a song for you. It's a song I wrote called I Want to Feel It. And it's about leaning into that which ails you and leaning into that which frightens you. And not running away from it, because so often we take the easy route and do that. But we get a lot more from it if we lean into it and find out what it's trying to tell us. So I hope you enjoy this tune. I'll put a little bonus material in there too along with it. And big thanks once again to the Pacific Forest Trust for doing all that they're doing. The storm's coming on. Oh, I wanna feel it. I won't go running out. Wanna stand up to my pride, 'cause I wanna feel it. When all my soul is gonna bleed deeply through it, I will breathe. 'Cause I wanna feel it. The silence gonna fall. Oh, I wanna hear it. I'm not gonna move. I wanna face this faking moves. I wanna hear it. Wanna let the silence swarm till it silences the storm. 'Cause I wanna hear it. Where to fly. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I've got to beware. Think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Little bonus. That's right. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, getting so much resistance from behind. Think it's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Yeah. Darkness is rolling. Oh, I wanna beg you. I won't cry for him. Wanna sit here by
myself, 'cause I wanna break it. This darkness will be fenced, I'll storm the silence, 'cause I wanna break it. Her love so deep and wide, done unshackling my mind. Yes, I wanna share it. Well, it won't do me no good locked up inside and misunderstood, 'cause I wanna share it. But this love can silence any fight, storm the darkness with its light. So I wanna share it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I won't live beyond the light. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I wanna find a way to fly, way to fly.
Thank you, Lebo, for your heartfelt words, powerful performance, and unwavering support for Pacific Forest Trust. Good evening, friends. My name is Michael Tate, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you this evening to support Pacific Forest Trust at Virtual Forest Fete 2021. I absolutely love partnering with organizations that are committed to making the world a better place in small and large ways every day. And that, quite simply, is Pacific Forest Trust. I'm energized and moved by the commitment of PFT's leaders, volunteers, donors, and patrons who have shown up as a community this evening. Thank you for being here. Now, before we dive into our program, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the forests we manage and live in. The work of Pacific Forest Trust is grounded in the traditional territories of many Native American peoples. These forests have a rich history and community of people who have lived and stewarded them for thousands of years. They're core to the forest stakeholder community, and we thank them for their legacy. We learn from them today and appreciate their guidance. Now, tonight, we come together to engage and enhance our sense of community. We'll celebrate Pacific Forest Trust's innovative achievements and partnerships this evening through compelling storytelling, inspiring speakers, and amazing entertainment. While we're not physically together, we are connected through our collective desire and intention to renew the fabric of forests and communities. So I invite you to find community in this digital space by using the chat feature in the YouTube channel. If something moves you, make some noise. If you like what you see or hear, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you see a friend, new or old, make a donation to PFT, give them a high five. Now, many of you have joined us in the past for Forest Fete and are intimately involved with Pacific Forest Trust. However, we also know that at this virtual event, we are so fortunate to have many new friends joining us who might not be as familiar with the work and approach of PFT. And I'd love to take a moment to provide a bit of background about the organization. For more than 25 years, Pacific Forest Trust has been focused on sustaining America's forests for their public benefits of water, wood, wildlife, and people's well-being, working in cooperation with landowners and communities. Pacific Forest Trust is an unapologetically visionary think and do tank of scientists, conservationists, policy workers, entrepreneurs, and outdoor enthusiasts that have helped shape forest conservation and climate policy. Working closely with other forest stakeholders, from landowners to local communities, to agencies to nonprofit partners, Pacific Forest Trust creates and advances high-leverage catalytic strategies that engage the commitment, imagination, and resources of individuals, businesses, and organizations. By doing so, PFT carries out its mission of making it easier and more rewarding to do good things for the forests, forest communities, and forest landowners on which we all depend. Tonight, you'll hear from a number of individuals who are all passionate about PFT, including our landowner partners who will share personal stories about their efforts to renew the local forest and community, our political partners who champion our mission through policy work, and several of our board members who dedicate countless hours to support PFT. You'll also hear from our Outside the Box awardee, Randy Moore, whose work to promote sustainable ecosystem management across all landscapes to benefit all Californians inspires us. And finally, and of course, our president and co-founder, Lori Wayburn. Now, as a special treat, you'll be the first to see a trailer for Andrea Sparrow and Ben Elkin's documentary, The Temptation of Trees. So you might be thinking to yourself, how does PFT's work sustain America's forests? Well, PFT partners with landowners to conserve well-managed forests, which in turn build resilient landscapes. PFT is committed to restoring forests to mitigate climate change and help species adapt. PFT also collaborates with local communities and policymakers to keep communities employed and engaged with the forests. PFT helps secure new sources of income for landowners and reconnects people with their forest ecosystems. PFT sincerely believes that it is vital to make it easier to do good things for the forests and communities. So with these audacious goals and unique approaches, what has PFT accomplished, you might ask? Well, as the only organization focused on conserving private forests in California, Oregon, and Washington state, PFT has conserved almost 300,000 acres of vital forest land regionally. It holds easements on more than 110,000 acres and manages 12,000 acres of forest land. In protecting forests and forest watersheds, PFT ensures cool, clean water flows for all of us. Protecting water sources, providing life-sustaining water to millions of people, and of course, land animals, fish, and plants. PFT's dedication to managing and conserving forests for climate benefits has become a national model. Now, like each of you, I'm a stakeholder in forests. Growing up in Ohio, we had a beautiful metro park system, which I love spending time in. However, my appreciation for forests became real for me when, as a Brown University student, I visited a classmate of mine at his home in Vermont. Well, I was blown away by the beauty, the majesty, and the awesome calm of the Green Mountain National Forest. To this day, I remember that being a life-changing moment. And since then, I've tried to support and sustain the beauty of our country's backyard in any way possible. And tonight, you'll have an opportunity to join me in supporting PFT by making a financial gift. Now, I am thrilled to share that we have already raised $100,000 through our generous supporters, along with our hosts and honorary committees. But tonight, we hope to raise an additional $50,000 towards our goal of $185,000. So how do you make a gift? It's simple. You're sitting at home in your living room or kitchen. Maybe you're still in the office somewhere. All you need to do is pull out your cell phone. You'll send a text to 41444. In the space for your message, type Forest Fete, put a space, put your donation amount. And remember, just the numbers, no need for a dollar sign. Add a space, and finally, your name. Then hit send, just like you would send a text. You'll receive an automatic response back with a link to click to complete your donation. It's just that easy to support Pacific Forest Trust right now. Now, of course, if you prefer, you can mail a check in, or if you'd like to use your donor advice fund to make a donation, please drop us a note at fet@pacificforest.org, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. Now, I'll be back with these instructions over the course of the next hour, and they'll also be on the screen periodically. Now, I'd like to introduce to our virtual stage our Board of Directors, Chair, and Forest Fete Host Committee member, Ivan Samuels, and Forest Fete Host Committee member and Board member, Eric Wogemuth.
Greetings. My name is Ivan Samuels, Chair of the Board of the Pacific Forest Trust, and I want to welcome you to the 2021 Virtual Forest Fete. We wish we could gather with you in person, be it in San Francisco or in the forest itself, and we're sure it will be that way next year, if not sooner. Despite the pandemic, PFT has been busy putting your investment to good use towards watershed health, forest resilience in the face of wildfire, harnessing the power of our forests to capture carbon, and of course, working forest conservation easements with an additional 2,000-acre easement approved by our board this week. We especially want to thank our wonderful sponsors this evening, and in particular, our Ponderosa sponsor, the Elizabeth G. Maugan Charitable Foundation. Now, please welcome my fellow board member, Eric Wohlgemuth.
Thank you, Ivan, and to everyone joining us today, welcome. We're all here for PFT, but why? Why does PFT matter? Well, I love PFT for so many reasons, but two things come immediately to mind. First, it's rigor, intellectual rigor, which manifests in so many ways, in identifying, buying, and managing very important landscapes to mitigate carbon, protect wildlife, and return forests to their thriving state. But also in policy advocacy, creating the right frameworks that incentivize forest stewardship so that landowners derive values beyond just harvesting timber, so that all of a forest's ecological, social, and economic benefits that underpin working forest economies are optimized. This kind of policy advocacy is really hard to find in such polarized times where urban-rural divides are huge, and yet PFT is the unique bridge builder that finds common ground in uncommon places. Second, the people. The founders, Lori and Connie, have been instrumental in establishing conservation easements and continually innovating in forest stewardship. And they are now training the next generation of leaders to bring their vision forward to new heights, which will be essential to growing PFT's reach and scale of influence in the coming years. And the board. I learned so much from my fellow board members whose commitment, along with that of the staff, to ensuring that forests benefits accrue to all people in equitable, accessible ways is paramount. I want to thank you so much for joining us and for supporting PFT.
It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Ann Bartuska, Vice Chair of our board, to the virtual stage. Ann leads the Land, Water, and Nature program at Resources for the Future, and it has been my pleasure to work with her on the board for several years now. Please welcome Ann, who will present our Outside of the Box Award.
Thank you, Ivan, for that lovely introduction. I joined the Pacific Forest Trust Board because I believe in its vision of ensuring healthy and resilient forested landscapes that provide for clean water, for habitat and biodiversity, and for human quality of life. This vision is rooted in the socioeconomic realities of forest communities, and that thriving forests can only be sustained if people value them. PFT has created economic incentives that reward private forest landowners for conserving their lands and practicing sustainable forestry. This linking of science, conservation, and practicality is the hallmark of PFT's success, and it is this spirit that the Outside the Box Award has been created. And so it is with great pleasure that I present this year's Outside the Box Award to Randy Moore, Regional Forester for the Forest Service, overseeing activities in California, Hawaii, and the Pacific Islands. Randy, you have demonstrated outside-the-box thinking to ensure forest stewardship and conservation for all the values of our public forests. Your commitment to working with stakeholder communities and to building partnerships is exemplary and challenging given the diverse communities that call California home. This view is amply demonstrated in the shared stewardship agreement that you recently signed on behalf of the Forest Service with the state of California. As a friend and a colleague, I am proud to have been asked to present this award to you in acknowledgement of your years of service in the state of California and in working to ensure healthy, sustainable forests, watersheds, communities, and for the partnership you have had with Pacific Forest Trust. All I can offer you right now is a virtual handshake and a virtual hug, but congratulations, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Thank you, Ann, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you and a fantastic honor to receive this award. Thank you also for recognizing the work of the Pacific Southwest region. And on behalf of the region and really the Forest Service in general, I humbly accept this award. Speaking of outside the box and looking at Pacific Forest Trust's origins, you know, I've noticed also that since 1993 that you have been breaking barriers practically since your inception. And the work that you're doing is exemplary. Your understanding of the confluence of legislative and policy opportunities with market forces is nothing short of outstanding. Thank you for your efforts in maintaining productive forests through conservation easements. And also thank you for helping people understand the importance of these natural and working lands. The Pacific Southwest region of the Forest Service also exemplifies that spirit. We recognize the importance of shared stewardship before it even had a name, working with our partners to develop a shared leader's intent for ecological restoration when we recognize the need to increase vegetation management efforts to 500,000 acres per year. The state joined us in that commitment when we signed the shared stewardship agreement last August with a combined goal of 1 million acres by 2025. This agreement formalizes our great relationship with the state, and it also provides a framework for working together for the next 20 years and beyond. You know, we're in an era where new ideas and innovations are necessary. And if we are to embrace the challenges ahead, we must also embrace new ideals and innovation. Now, even though we're getting recognized, and I'm getting recognized for this, but I also would like to say that most of the recognition that I'm receiving, and even the Forest Service is receiving, should go to our partners and our stakeholders who practice this incredible spirit of collaboration here in California. We have unique problems for sure, but we also have unique solutions. One of those are the California Climate Investment. We also have a governor in Governor Newsom and a legislature that's supporting the shared conservation and restoration efforts by committing over $500 million, which was announced earlier this month. At the national level, the Biden administration budget proposes substantial increases for fire and forestry. It's really an exciting time to be doing this kind of work with such alignment and with the possibilities ahead. So again, Ann, thank you. Lori, thank you. And thank you, Connie. And thanks to your board of directors and your staff. It's a great honor to receive the Pacific Forest Trust Outside the Box Award. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ivan, Eric, and Ann. And again, our heartfelt congratulations to our Outside the Box Award winner, Randy Moore. We'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the work, time, and dedication of all of our PFT board members, sponsors, staff, and volunteers. It is truly the combined effort of all of our stakeholders that ensure the success of Pacific Forest Trust. Now, it is my great honor to invite two of our long-term political partners to join us this evening. First, we'll be joined by Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, followed by Congressman Jared Huffman. Speaker Nancy Pelosi is the 52nd Speaker of the House of Representatives, having made history in 2007 when she was elected the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House. As Speaker, Pelosi has made the climate crisis her flagship issue, enacting comprehensive energy legislation in 2007 that raised vehicle fuel efficiency standards for the first time in 32 years and making an historic commitment to American homegrown biofuels. Congressman Jared Huffman has been working hand in hand with PFT for more than 20 years. Congressman Huffman represents California's 2nd District, which spans the Golden Gate Bridge to the Oregon border and includes Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt, Trinity, and Del Norte counties. This area includes some of the most productive forests and the best carbon sink in the world. During his 4 terms in Congress, Congressman Huffman has built a reputation as a progressive leader and an environmental expert who focuses on making a difference. PFT is proud to work closely with Congressman Huffman to advance forests as a key solution in the House Select Committee on the Climate Crisis, resulting in recommendations to establish strategic carbon reserves in our public lands and establish incentives for private forest climate management. We are so honored to have both Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Congressman Jared Huffman on our Forest Fete Honorary Host Committee this year. Let's hear from these two important members of the PFT family.
Hello, everyone. As Speaker of the House, it is my pleasure to bring the greetings of the United States Congress to the members and friends of the Pacific Forest Trust on the occasion of this year's Forest Fete. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as an honorary co-chair of this special event. Let me in particular salute your tremendous president, Lori Wayburn, on her decades of leadership to protect America's natural heritage. Conservation is in Lori's DNA. Her parents, the iconic Ed Wayburn, led the charge to preserve some of the Bay Area's most treasured landmarks as he established and enlarged the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Her mother, Peggy, made so much of Dr. Wayburn's success possible, as well as making her own contributions as she raised a family of environmentalists. The same spirit of impact advocacy is carried on every day by the leaders and members of the Pacific Forest Trust. Your conservation efforts over decades have protected an additional 300,000 acres of our national forest, ensuring clean air for our children to breathe, clean water for them to drink, and wonders for them to behold. By safeguarding this vital resource, you have made a significant difference in preserving our environment and combating the climate crisis. As Congress advances the Biden administration's Americans Jobs Plan, we are committed to building back better, a more resilient, sustainable infrastructure and economy in a way that creates millions of jobs and preserves America's global competitiveness in the world. In this mission, your trusted partnership and leadership will continue to be valued. Thank you for your nearly 3 decades of effective activism and best wishes for a successful event. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to the Pacific Forest Trust for inviting me to participate in today's event. More importantly, thanks for the work that you do to sustain America's forests. This is a really important mission, not just for the forests themselves, but for the water, wildlife, and communities that depend on healthy forest ecosystems. So I'm the representative of California's North Coast. I always tell my colleagues in Congress I have the most beautiful district in America, and we know that includes some of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the state. I have pristine rivers and rugged mountains to explore, but key among the many things that make my district so great are the forests, including jaw-dropping old growth forests. Experiencing these wild places and connecting to a healthy environment is really a way of life for me and the people I represent in this district. And just like you, I know how important forests are. In addition to storing carbon, healthy forests provide clean air, clean water, wildlife habitat, outdoor recreation opportunities, and jobs. Much of our country's drinking water is filtered by forests, making them a critical part of protecting water supplies, water quality, and improving the resilience of water infrastructure. Yes, we need to make sure that forests are part of our national infrastructure conversation. Forest management and restoration can also help with climate shifts as conditions in Western watersheds continue to change. Forest and watershed restoration can be economic drivers, job creators, as well as help keep our forests and watersheds healthy in the face of climate change. Restoration projects and investments in natural infrastructure not only support ecosystems, they provide job opportunities and they support the outdoor recreation economy. And this helps mitigate the impacts of climate change. Investing in restoration work has an outsized economic and environmental impact and benefit compared to that initial investment. So as some of you may know, my public lands bill, and this is a mouthful, but it's called the Northwest California Wilderness, Recreation, and Working Forests Act. This bill has provisions to restore forests and fish habitat. It will strengthen local economies and increase fire resilience. This bill is a comprehensive approach, the kind of innovation that we need to meet our climate challenges for the future, and also provide benefits to everyone who has a stake in our public lands and the communities that rely on them. I'm proud to say that this bill was already passed out of the House, both in the previous Congress and in this Congress. It's now waiting for a vote in the United States Senate, and I am hopeful that we're going to find a way to move it across the finish line. Your work in this effort is really making a difference. I know we can reimagine the old ways of managing our forests and programs that have funded often destructive outcomes for vital natural systems, and instead transform them to support restoration and healthy, resilient forests and rural economies. So thank you for being part of today's event and for tirelessly working to support America's treasured forests. I look forward to continuing that work with all of you.
Thank you so much, Speaker Pelosi and Congressman Huffman. We at Pacific Forest Trust are so appreciative of all of our partners, and in particular, our political partners in policy. The commitment of both Speaker Pelosi and Representative Huffman to maintaining healthy forests through bipartisan collaboration reminds us that the time and resources we invest in the forest benefit everyone. We also want to give a special thank you to Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, who, while unable to join us with a video this evening, partners with Pacific Forest Trust on ensuring a safe climate for our future and stewardship of our forests. We'd also like to recognize Senator Alex Padilla of California. We appreciate his energetic engagement on natural solutions for climate, natural water security, and incentives for forest conservation. Now, we are thrilled to be able to premiere the trailer of the documentary, The Temptation of Trees, by our friends Andrea Sparrow and Ben Elkins. Andrea and Ben explore how allowing trees to grow to an older age in forests carefully managed as functional, natural ecosystems is one of the keys to mitigating climate change. The Temptation of Trees explores the possibilities our existing forests offer for capturing and sequestering carbon, preserving biodiversity, and protecting our water and climate. Esteemed scientists and conservationists shared their thoughts on our nation's forests with an eye to newer ways of managing forest ecosystems as whole systems rather than simply a timber resource. We are very proud to have PFT board member Jerry Franklin and PFT president Lori Wayburn featured in this film. The documentary is set for release in the summer of 2021, so just in a few months. So for now, please enjoy this never before seen trailer.
Right now, we need to lower the heat-trapping gas content of the atmosphere and cool the earth.
We have to have more growth of existing forests in order to accumulate more carbon out of the atmosphere.
We have no strategic plan to protect an intact network of nature that we need for everything to survive. This is, where we can maximize carbon accumulation. It's where we can protect native biodiversity. It's where we can provide places for people that really need places they can count on to get away.
So the fate of wild salmon in our country can't be separated from the fate of the forest. The forest controls the health of the watershed and the water.
We have a climate emergency. We have a biodiversity emergency. We need to address both, and preserving more forest lands will do that.
People are part of nature, and we need to get back into a relationship with nature that is much more mutually supportive.
In ecological forestry, what we're doing is collaborating with nature for the benefit of both the forest ecosystem and our society.
What a powerful piece. We are so thankful to the filmmakers for sharing the trailer with us tonight. Now, I'd like to introduce to the virtual stage PFT's president, Lori Wayburn. Lori and I have gotten to know each other as we prepared for tonight, and I have been so impressed by her unwavering commitment to pioneering new approaches to developing sustainable resource economies using her deep experience in conservation, ecosystem services, and sustainability. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Lori Wayburn.
Welcome to Forest Fete. Thank you so much for joining us in this annual celebration of forests and forest communities. The theme of Forest Fete 2021 is indeed reweaving forests and forest communities. And we're speaking about forests across time and space and the communities that forests bring together over time and space. I'm standing on the ancestral lands of the coastal Miwok, who created a legacy for these generations, and thanks to my ancestors, it's been conserved for future generations. It is my hope, and it is the goal for all of us at Pacific Forest Trust, that future generations will look at us as ancestors who have left a legacy of conserved and well-managed forests, so that they may have the cool water, the clean air, the abundant wildlife, the range of wonderful wood products, and the wonder and awe that we have today from our forests. And that is the community across time. It is a community to support forests now and in the future. There's also a community of space that forests hold together. Behind me is the mighty Pacific Ocean, where San Francisco Bay comes out to greet it. The waters of San Francisco Bay originate on the sides of Mount Shasta, Mount Lassen, in the forests of the Trinity Mountains and the Northern Sierra. Those forests there collect the water as rain and snow, transport it into creeks and streams and rivers that join with the Sacramento River and rush down into San Francisco Bay, making this the greatest estuary on the West Coast, and providing drinking water to 30 million Californians, all the way as far south as San Diego, and sustaining the vital economy of California's agricultural production. And that is how forests weave us together as a community across space. We've been talking over the past several decades about the climate change crisis and what we must do to avert the worst of that crisis. I suspect all of us as children, at some point or other, heard a voice say, "Now means now." And the meaning was clear. I need you to do what I need you to do now. In the climate crisis, now does mean now. In these next 10 years, we need to change the trajectory of what we are doing so that we are taking more CO2 out of the atmosphere than we are putting into the atmosphere. And the only known way to do that is through the power of forests. The transformation that we need to undertake in how we manage forests and how we value forests is the same kind of transformation as we are doing in the energy and transportation sectors, and it will take the same scale of investment to do that. There are proven tools that we can support to do this, such as conservation easements, which Pacific Forest Trust uses in working with landowners. And there's a broad community of landowners who want to join in that stewardship and conservation so essential to creating a safe climate and a good future. You'll hear tonight from two landowners who have worked with the Pacific Forest Trust to steward and conserve their lands, and indeed who've done this with a family covering now 7 and more generations, and another who's done it for the community at large. We've been able at Pacific Forest Trust, and we are proud to have helped create a carbon market that pays landowners to produce the commodity of carbon along with the commodity of timber. Pacific Forest Trust believes in making it easier to do good things and in creating the economies and market forces that support doing good things. Now it's time for all of us to pull together and create the solutions that will carry us through the climate crisis. We need you. You are part of this forest community. And if you sustain this community, forests will in turn support you. Thank you for being part of the Pacific Forest Trust. Thank you for supporting us. Together, we will make the difference that we must make, because now means now.
I love this forest with passion.
Every day you go out, you just never know what you're going to find. And it's always something really special.
It's a place where things grow, where you see the landscape constantly changing. You see the seasons. You know everything by name. It's something that is precious and meaningful. You're connected to it.
The valley itself out here is 120,000 acres. We're on the Valley View Angus Ranch up here in Sierra County in the Sierra Valley. And I've lived on this ranch about 45, 47 years now. And still I'm learning different things out here.
My great-grandfather homesteaded up here in 1854. We owned 920 acres of marvelous forest land in Northern California, east of Redding. We established our first sawmill here in 1897. This was the only place I ever knew as home. The forest is changing. It is no longer a natural forest.
The forests are disappearing more and more. There's less of all of it. There's more people, there's more houses, there's more pressure on the environment.
We're losing thousands of acres of beautiful working forest lands every year to subdivision and development.
Ranchers and people that own big tracts of land, they want to be good stewards of the land. And that's where Pacific Forest Trust came in.
The mission of the Pacific Forest Trust is to sustain America's forests for all the many benefits that they provide. And one of the key tools that we use is a conservation easement. Conservation easements are a partnership with private forest landowners that help them dedicate their lands to be forests forever, that ensures that it will remain as forests and guide how that forest is managed.
This ranch was the first conservation easement in this whole valley. It turned out that the cowboys and the conservationists all wanted the same thing. They just didn't know it. 23 years later, there are 42,000 acres that are protected in this valley.
Conservation easements give them the resources to do the kind of restoration and maintain that land over time to ensure that their forests are a legacy passed down to future generations.
Nice fancy hook here. Right here is a perfect example of the willows coming up. They were always here, but they were chewed down so far by the cattle, there was never anything here but dirt and grass. But look at how it's all grown back.
Imagine for a moment what it would be like without conservation organizations such as Pacific Forest Trust that are actually working on behalf of forests.
So the Pacific Forest Trust and the landowners all share the same ideas: to take care of the land, to use it wisely, to use it to the benefit of the land and the people.
I've watched Sarah, my granddaughter, grow up here and gain an understanding of this property and land, and watching it change even in her lifetime. We are the custodians of this land. We are the caretakers of this land, and you have the potential to make a difference. She is the person who will take my place in the management of this forest land. She loves this place. And love is so important as a part of that landscape. that you care, and I look forward to her carrying on my tradition.
I just want to thank the Pacific Forest Trust for really having the foresight to be able to see into the future and preserve these places before it's too late.
I think that we have more hope now than there ever has been. We're gaining more and more knowledge and understanding of the world that we live in. I think that I'm making a difference, that our family is making a difference, and you can make a difference too.
My friends, I want to thank Lori so much and all of the individuals who appeared in the video. Their passion for forests and their conservation is palpable, and I'm sure you could feel it. Now, finding that balance in which a livelihood can be made as a landowner, while at the same time supporting forests being able to thrive to the benefit of each of us, the climate, our community, the environment, and of course, the stunning flora and fauna. It all seems so simple, but it was Pacific Forest Trust who figured it out and who are committed to that. And now it's your opportunity to step up and make a difference. As I mentioned earlier tonight, we're hoping to raise $50,000. And we are so fortunate to have already raised over $100,000 through some of our early sponsorships and generous gifts from for our host committee. Our overall fundraising goal is $185,000, and I know we can do it. Now, I'm going to explain again, just to make sure everyone understands. You're going to make your gift by using your mobile phone. You'll send a text to 41444. So you'll type that in and as the recipient for the text. In the space for your message, you'll type Forest Fete. Then you'll put a space. Then you'll put your donation amount in round numbers without the $sign, just the numbers and the space. And then finally, your name. And then simply hit send. As I mentioned, you'll receive a response back with a link to click to complete your donation. It's just that easy. Of course, as I said earlier, if you prefer to use your donor advised fund or want to send a check, feel free to email fet@pacificforest.org and we'll be happy to help you. Now, when I had the opportunity to sit down for several hours with Lori to talk about Pacific Forest Trust and what has really made a difference, I said, Lori, I'd love to know when you think about the organization and where it's going in the future, if you could just share maybe 3 strategy things that you're thinking about. What is it that Pacific Forest Trust really wants to dig in, that we can bring some other people on? And she said it didn't take her a beat. She said there are major conservation projects that we are excited to be a part of, and we would really love to bring more people on board to help out. One she mentioned was conserving an additional 1,100 acres at the Mount Ashland project along the California-Oregon border. The way Lori described it, she says, it's a space at which new growth meets mature forest land. I love that image. And it forms a migration corridor or a wildlife superhighway. Now, Pacific Forest Trust has already conserved 15,000 acres, and they'd like to be able to expand that conservation. The next big point she brought out was the federal infrastructure bill. Now, we've been hearing a lot about infrastructure in the last several months, and there is a place for the work the Pacific Forest Trust fits right in there. However, we need to make sure that that bill includes climate and water and watershed conservation and those restoration efforts that you've heard about in the videos. This will facilitate water security for all Californians and create thousands of jobs. So my friends, I encourage you, get out your phones. I'm going to share a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and bring up our rolling list of donors who've already made contributions. Hopefully you see this on your screen. I'm just going to start calling out some names and so much appreciation. I see Pete Nichols, Debbie Smith, Norm and Portia Christensen. Let's see, Russell Henley, Aaron and Meredith. Thank you, Aaron and Meredith. Of course, Lori's there. Thank you, Lori. Diane Garretts, Oksana Piskov. So I want to share with you a few things. I asked Lori, some people want to know, if I made a gift of a particular amount, I'd love to know how that can make a difference. How can that move the needle? And one of the first things we talked about was that stewarding of forests under our care. She talked about restoring the salmon streams, the riparian meadows and the willow groves, and of course the older forest habitat on which so many vulnerable species depend. And that for $10,000, that could really help take care of some of that. So a $10,000 gift will help steward those forests in those particular ways to really make a difference. Again, I just want to keep acknowledging the gifts. You all are incredibly generous. I see Bob and Linda, Todd Pond, Jack Stevenson. Thank you so much to Jack. Madonna Dunbar, I love that name, Madonna. I see Janie and Donnie Friend, Mont Sweben, and Pete Nichols. And of course, we continued our conversation. I said, tell me more. I want to know more. And we talked a lot about policy. And she mentioned that for $5,000, one of the things that can really help move the dial is helping to consolidate the coalitions around the policy. It can help inform that policy, and it really brings people together who, as we've heard, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, everyone can appreciate forests and what forests do for our climate, for our water, for our land animals, for our fish. It's amazing the work that we do, how that shift. I am amazed. We made a big jump, and I just want to keep acknowledging Henry and Glenda Goulding, Ivan Samuels, thank you, Ivan, John Graham, Annabelle Eisen. Friends, we are closing in on $31,000. You all are absolutely amazing. And I want to let you know, one of the things that I love about Pacific Forest Trust, and in just my time chatting with Lori, I can tell that she and the other members of the board and everyone involved with the organization recognizes that they need to be good stewards, not only of the forest, but of the funds that people are giving. So I can tell you that every dollar invested in PFT, every dollar leverages at least $1,400 of direct on the ground, or as I'd like to say, in the forest conservation. So you know whether you can give $100, $1,000, or $10,000, the ripple effect of your giving is immense. And that's amazing to know that we can be a part of the solution. We can continue to be those caretakers. We are here but for a moment, but we know we want to make sure that forests and that space are here for our children and grandchildren, very much like that gentleman in the video, seeing him with his granddaughter and her passion and love for being in the forest and just wanting to keep it like it is, to keep it pristine, to find a space where they can spend time there where the forest can still thrive. So friends, I'm going to share a few more highlights on some of our dollar amounts while I acknowledge Robert and Susie Given. Let's see, Timothy Hip, thank you, Timothy. Let me see if I see Kate Dargan, thank you, Kate, Andrea Tuttle, and Leslie and Doug Ballinger. So one of the areas I love, when we get to some of we'll call them smaller amounts, they're more modest, but again, every dollar makes a difference. I love the idea at the $2,500 level, Lori was sharing with me that that can help provide field tablets for staff so they can capture accurate data when they're out in the forest and just checking things out and wanting to make sure they're getting all of their numbers accurate. Now, we think of, oh, I could just go buy an iPad for a gift. This is a way to take that tablet and really make a difference by giving to Pacific Forest Trust. Now, I'm going to remind you of that way to make the gift. I want to make sure everyone understands. You will text 41444, and then in the message, you're going to put Forest Fete, and then you're going to put a space. And then let me just make sure I get this right. Forest Fete, space, again, your donation amount, no need for the $sign, and then a space, and then your name and hit send. And like I said, you'll get a text back to complete the gift. Thank you so much. We just jumped up. We're just shy of $42,000. This is absolutely amazing and is moving to watch you all come together in community. Even though we are not together, we are together because I feel it. And as I watch this video, as I've watched during the evening, as I've seen the images, and I've heard the stories being told, it has been incredibly moving. This is one of those moments where I know if we could reach out and fist bump or high five, I know we all would. I hope you all are feeling that energy, that passion, that commitment, whether you're sitting in your living room, your bedroom, you might be at the kitchen counter preparing dinner or washing your dishes, but you knew what? You wanted to show up to support Pacific Forest Trust. So we are getting there, folks. I can feel it. We're at $42,000. I'm going to share one more big strategy that Lori shared with me, and she talked about President Biden's climate summit. Now, we know that climate change and forestry, these are passions of President Biden, and he's bringing it to the Biden administration. Now, our work shows how this ambitious and essential goal at the climate summit can be accomplished, but we want to make sure that federal policymakers understand the important role that forests play in creating natural climate solutions. Now, you know, I can't think of a better organization to share that news, to break it down in a way that can be understood than Pacific Forest Trust. So I hope that you all think about that. I'm going to stop at one last dollar amount to share a little bit more about, and I love this, $500. $500 can help plant 2 acres in forest restoration efforts. Now, here in the Bay Area, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the Bay Area, some of you may be in the Pacific Northwest, some of you may be on the East Coast, or perhaps not even in the United States. But I can tell you the notion of being able to change 2 acres of land for $500 is mind-blowing when we think about how expensive real estate can be. But this is truly the real estate in the forest, and your $500 can make a difference with those 2 acres of forest restoration. So we are getting there, folks. And again, I keep saying it, and I tell you, when I think about every dollar being able to turn into $1,400 of direct on-the-ground conservation, that to me is both mind-blowing and reassuring and encouraging that the work we are doing coming together tonight in community can truly make a difference. So I'm going to just note a few more names, and then we're going to move on because we want to get to a few more things in the evening. But I want to thank you all, and you know I'm going to thank you again. I see Debbie and Kate and Andrea and Henry and Todd. Thank you so much for your generosity. We are going to come back. That was incredibly exciting. And again, we're going to keep accepting those pledges, so it will continue even though we're moving on. Now, I am thrilled personally and on behalf of Pacific Forest Trust to invite to the virtual stage our longtime supporter and friend, Jackson Brown. Jackson Brown has written and performed some of the most literate and moving songs in popular music and has defined a genre of songwriting charged with honesty, emotion, and personal politics. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004 and the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2007. Jackson is a powerful advocate for the environment, human rights, and arts education. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hello. Very happy to be here today to play for Forest Fete. And this is my good friend Greg Leese on the pedal steel guitar. This is a very old song, song that came out on my first album, but it's older than that. About a house I used to live in, I grew up in, the house I grew up in, and that I used to go back and visit after we'd moved away from there. I'd go back there and drop in on the tenants, whoever it was that was living there. I was pretty sure that I was supposed to be living there. But I'm not sure what this has to do with the forest, except house as a metaphor for our lives and for the planet, really, for the world we care for and that we want to protect. This is called Looking Into You. Well, I looked into a house I once lived in around the time I first went on my own, when the roads were as many as the places I had dreamed of, and my friends and I were one. Now the distance is done, the search has begun. I've come to see where my beginnings have gone. Oh, the walls and the windows were still standing, and the music could be heard at the door, were the people who kindly endured my odd questions, asked if I'd come very far. And when my silence replied, they took me inside, where the children sat playing on the floor. Well, we spoke of the changes that would find us farther on, and it left me so warm and so high. But as I stepped back outside to the gray morning sun, I heard that highway whisper and sigh, are you ready to fly? And I looked into the faces all passing by. It's an ocean that will never be filled, and the house that grows older and finally crumbles, that even love cannot rebuild. It's a hotel at best, you're here as a guest. You ought to make yourself at home while you're waiting for the rest. And I looked into the dream of the millions, that one day the search will be through. Here I stand at the edge of my embattled illusions, looking into you. The great song traveler passed through here, and he opened my eyes to the view, and I was among those who called him a prophet, and I asked him what was true, until the distance had shown how the road remains alone. Now I'm looking in my life for a truth that is my own, and I looked into the sky for my anthem, and the words and the music came through. But words and music will never touch the beauty that I've seen looking into you. And that's true.
Thank you so much, Jackson. We are thrilled to have you joining us tonight. Your song and personal story remind us of the power of place. Now, I would be remiss, I'm just going to check out our thermometer and just acknowledge a few more folks. I see Will and Julie Parrish. Thank you, Connie Best, Grant Patterson, Karsten Turner. Thank you, Karsten. Todd Pond, Angus McLean, Sonny Beardy. Thank you, Sonny. Marcus Von Engel, James Patrick Finnerty, and Jonathan Neimer and Alicia Torre. So we are creeping on up, and you all have been absolutely amazing. We appreciate that you showed up today and you have held in, and your attention and generosity this evening has been amazing. So again, we are going to keep that line open so you can continue making gifts. Again, text 41444, and then in the message, you're going to put Forest Fete, a space, your amount, round numbers, no need for a $sign, a space, and then your name. And as you know, you'll get a link to be able to complete your donation. So thank you. I want to let you know that we have come together this evening and we look forward to hopefully next year being able to come together as soon as it is safe and celebrate everything Pacific Forest Trust accomplishes, not only in this past year, but in the coming year. So it is now my great privilege and honor to send it back to Jackson Brown to serenade you all into the evening. Thank you and have a lovely evening.
This is a Buffy St. Marie song, one of my favorite songs since I first started playing. Buffy St. Marie, Cree Indian from North America, from North America. This is called Piney Wood Hills. I'm a rambling rover, and I wonder if it seems, and I've been this world over, chasing after my dreams, but a dream should come true, and a heart should be filled, and life should be lived in the Piney Wood Hills. I'll return to the woodland, I'll return to the snow, I'll return to the mountain and the valley below. I'll return as a poor man or a king if God wills, but I'm on my way home to the Piney Wood Hills. I was raised on a song there, done right, I done wrong there, and it's sure I belong there, and it sure is my home. I'll return to the woodlands, I'll return to the snow, I'll return to the mountain and the valley below. I'll return as a poor man or a king if God wills, but I'm on my way home to the Piney Wood Hills. I was raised on a song there, I done right, I done wrong there, and it's true I belong there, and it's true it's my home. From ocean to ocean, I've rambled and roamed, and now I return to my piney wood home. Maybe someday I'll find someone who will love as I love my
Folks, I am back and I am thrilled. I don't know if it was the power of Jackson Brown. Maybe it was the folks who were just like, I'm going to hang out till a little bit later. But we have surpassed our goal of $50,000. Gifts started flying in and we are over $53,000. So you all did it. If you have a cork to pop, raise your glass, raise that non-alcoholic option, but celebrate because you know you are making a difference for Pacific Forest Trust. My name is Michael Tate, and I just want to thank you personally and especially on behalf of Lori Wayburn, Ivan Samuels, Eric Woldemuth, all the wonderful people at Pacific Forest Trust who have given their time, and thank you for giving your treasure for making a difference. Again, I encourage you, if you feel so moved, you can continue to make a donation, but pat yourselves on the back for making a difference for Pacific Forest Trust. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing each of you in person when we can gather. You all are amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.